Alright, welcome to the second part of in-depth texture detailing. This time we're going to do the floor, and of course because we have our reference research, we fortunately can redirect to our referencing and see which floor we can use. And thankfully I found one which resembles the one that we need. And this is obviously the point that we do reference research so that we know which one to use. So it's the normal, the roughness, the displacement. Doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Let's put it all in. Roughness. And normal map. So another cool thing that we can do is, let's say instead of putting everything, let me just connect it first. Or add the mask node again. Put it in the middle. Roughness into roughness. Normal into normal. Here's the normal map. Push it back a bit so we have more space. Normal into normal, and then of course the displacement tool. Displace here. Displacement tool into height. Alright, so we're gonna color or put it into the color node, and we want it to go the other side. So the way to do that is put it on box. And now let's say I want to put the other ones on box. Instead of doing it manually each one by one, I can just select it all and then hold Alt and then put it on box. Oh, again, forgot the screencast key. So again, select everything, hold Alt, and then put it, like, let's say I want it back to flat, change this back to flat, want it back to box, change it back to box, just so we save some time. So again, connect everything. Put a color ramp in between. Roughness, the normal into normal, and the displace into the displace. Play around with the roughness. Obviously, everything has to be non-color. You can actually do that with the non-color as well. Just select everything and then hold Alt and then press it to non-color. I just forgot. I'm also just a human. So again, value something around 3. Yeah, that would work. Push the blacks. Somewhere around here. Put it down. Let's see how it looks like. It's a bit too strong, right? Oh, I did the wrong one. You have to change the black one. Push it. Yes. Just to have more contrast. That's exactly what we need. Let's put down the specular just a little bit. And of course the displacement doesn't show because we haven't subdivided it yet. So you go to subdivision surface in your modifier, just put it on 2. So far so good. Control G, group it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the debris texture, and for this one I only need 2, roughness and the debris, and the color ramp obviously. Connect the color ramp to the color ramp, connect the roughness to the color ramp. Connect the color to color. Cool. Let's see how big it is. Too big. Value. Again, maybe a value of 3. That sounds about right. Connect this one as well. Let's see. Go into Control Shift into our roughness map. Just have some. Like this should work fine. Good. Again, Control G, group it, go back. Okay, so far so good. So we can take obviously a grunk noise shader and then play around with that. But what I actually like to do is I like to go back into, I found the imperfection texture. This one, it's a roughness because I want to have some dirt on the floor. So what we can also do is just put it on non-color and put this one in the mask node. And this is what we see so far. So let's just color ramp in between, Control T, generate value. And it looks like this because why? Because it's making a displacement of our dirt, and we don't want that. So what we do is we just take the displacement from the floor, put it in, and so far so good. So now that because we have a color ramp, we can even play around with the dirt and make it more contrasty. Let's see how it looks like. Hell yes, this is what we want. You know, the more I push it, the less dirt. The more I push the whites, the more it merges together. And again, you know, there's a lot of tools that you can use, and you've probably seen multiple tutorials of great artists, and then, you know, you just do exactly what they do, but that's not the idea of a tutorial. The idea is you see him do something and then you learn from the way he figures some, like the issue at hand that he has, how he figures that out. That's our job as an artist, you know. You have to learn to think for yourself. All right, and I think the color of the floor is a bit too, it's a bit too saturated, so I add a hue saturation and then push the saturation back like that. Something like this. And then if we unhide everything, all right, look at this. You see, we're getting somewhere. So in the beginning, I did a quick model of the door, but later I found this texture of an exciting door and thought, let's just use that. Why? Because it's going to take time to texture the one that I had previously. I would have to make it wear and tear, so I figured this door not only would serve the same purpose, but also provide me with a lot of detail. All I had to do is just adjust it and use the quick shape tool from Jama to push the forms out. For the ceiling, I did the same process as I did for the walls. Found 2 great textures on Megascan and used the mask tool to add some damages on it. When I texture these things, I always look back at my reference to see how I can make it believable. And of course, if you don't have a high-end PC, I would recommend to find your composition first and based on that, work around which areas you want the displacement to show and which areas you don't need it. This is to be efficient and make sure your workflow does not crash every 10 minutes, which is understandably can be quite demotivating. And as you noticed, I always single out the parts and put a point light on there just to see how the reflections work. And you don't need to add normal maps and displacement all over your scene. The simple rule I use for myself is the further it is from the camera, the less bump and noise it needs. I'm just doing this all to show you guys how to play with these different settings when it comes to texturing. Most of the time, if any objects I texture is far from the scene, I just play with the roughness and maybe the normal maps. Because at the end of the day, all we're doing is designing how the light is falling on our objects. And this may all look like I'm doing this from the top of my head, but keep in mind that I've done this many times before, so obviously I am more used to it. But even then, I still do my reference research just to be sure that what I'm texturing is in line with how the wear and tear looks like in reality. So being prepared before starting to texture is almost always a guarantee for success.